An artist has slammed the Ozzy Osbourne tribute at the VMAs. The new Poppy collab with Amy Lee and Courtney LaPlante has everyone freaking out. And we talk about which band needs to play the Super Bowl. All that and more on this week's episode of
The Jesse Lee Show. Oh, oh. The Jesse Lee Show. Oh, oh. The Jesse Lee Show. Oh, oh. The Jesse Lee Show. Jesse Lee Show.
Hey, it's me, Jesse Lee, aka Music News Daddy. Thank you so much for pressing play on the podcast, for coming around for this weekly hangout where we just talk about all the big news stories in rock, metal, and beyond. If you're new around here, please find that follow button and bang your head on that button, or the subscribe button if you're watching on YouTube. If you're on Spotify, Apple Music, please drop that 5-star review, leave a comment, do whatever you can to grease up the algorithm, get me out there more, expose me more to the masses. I'm trying to expose myself, baby. I mean, not in a way that's going to get me in trouble or anything, but, I'm trying to get this show out there. I want more people to listen, watch, okay? Also, if you want to be a part of the Jesse Legion, please be sure to follow me at Jesse Lee on TikTok, Instagram, all that jazz. Our main story today, for the week, actually, the big one we're probably going to be talking about for a while now is the Ozzy Osbourne tribute sets at the MTV VMAs. There's an all-star cast. You had Youngblood there. You had members of Aerosmith. You had Nuno Betancourt. We're going to get into all that. But, the whole thing started off, the MTV VMAs, they kicked off on MTV and CBS this year. It was actually kind of confusing to find out how to watch it initially. But now officially CBS plays just as much music as MTV does these days, which is crazy. The whole event was hosted by Ladies Love Cool James, which is LL Cool J for the uninitiated. And you know what? Ladies don't just love Cool James. I love Cool James too. LL Cool J is great. I was just really surprised to see him hosting the MTV VMAs in the year of 2025, in the year of our Lord and Savior and Beyonce, 2025. I don't know. That just seems like an odd choice. I looked it up, though, and it turns out he does have singles and albums he just released in the past year or so. So that's not me for not being up to date in my Ladies Love Cool James discography. I need to brush up on the catalog. But the whole night did feel kind of like this weird combo of artists that Gen Z would not give a shit about, but then also artists that, millennials and Gen Xers might not have ever even heard of. Like, it kicked off with Kenny G and Doja Cat. I mean, at one point, other than the dentist office, when are you jamming some Kenny G? I mean, maybe, don't get me wrong, I'm not here to, poo-poo on anyone's listening pleasure. If you're a big Kenny G fan, that's fine. I just thought it was a weird combo for the MTV VMAs. And then, like I said, there's artists there that I was watching kind of in the background. I would see them on the screen, couldn't really hear them. I'm like, who is that? I feel like the MTV VMAs need like little name tags in the corner, like let you know this is the artist performing right now. If you're an old stupid person like me, here's the artist, the cool artist that's on screen right now. That's everyone, all the kids love. This is their name. This is maybe some stats, maybe some football kind of stats below it. Like they've had this many collabs. They've had these many hit songs, something like that. Also, another confusing part about the whole overall MTV VMA experience. I mean, we're gonna get into the tribute set, but the whole overall experience was a little bit confusing. That the best rock category, the VMA for best rock, went to Coldplay. I mean, I get it. MTV VMAs have not had the greatest track record for picking best rock category, and I know Coldplay is a pop rock band, but that song, All My Love, I mean, that is not a rock song. The most rock and roll thing Coldplay has done all year, honestly, is, put that CEO couple on blast during one of their concerts. Coldplay beat out Linkin Park and Evanescence. It just seemed like an odd choice for me, but all was not lost in rock as far as the VMAs go. The actual tribute set went on. It started off with a message from Jack Osbourne. He did a video message with him and his family, and then they had like a little montage of Ozzy throughout the years. And then the medley of tunes kicked off. It started with Youngblood coming out, all about. I'm not gonna play it, copyright reasons, but comes out all about, nailing the Crazy Train intro. He's come out. He's backed by Extreme Guitars, Nuno Betancourt, and Ozzy keyboards, former Ozzy keyboards, Adam Wakeman. I'm not sure why Zach Wilde was in there. I mean, Nuno Betancourt, great guitar player. He was a part of the Back to the Beginning concert that went on this past summer. Great choice, but does seem odd that Zach Wilde wasn't attached for this one. I mean, I feel like maybe he probably was asked and then couldn't make it work for whatever reason, but it seems like Zach Wilde would have been a perfect guitarist to have. They could have had Zach Wilde and Nuno Betancourt. It didn't need to be one or the other. Put them both together, baby. It would have been awesome. Crazy Train as a whole, that track did sound a little weak, I feel like, as far as Youngblood's performances I've heard him do in the past. I felt like Crazy Train, it's not really so much on him. I'm not saying like he's a bad singer in any shape or form. I feel like maybe just that song might not have been the greatest for him, but that was just me. A lot of people loved it. A lot of people thought he did a great job. I thought Crazy Train sounded a little weak. Then they transitioned into the Black Sabbath song Changes, which, of course, Youngblood performed at the Back to the Beginning concert over the summer, the one that went crazy viral everywhere. It kind of put Youngblood on the map for a lot of rock and metal heads that had not heard of him before. And he crushed that one just like he did over the summer. And I think maybe that fits more in his register and his key a little bit more. Maybe it's because it's a ballad. I don't know. He crushed that one. And then Steven Tyler and Joe Perry show up and they start playing Mama, I'm Coming Home. They kick in a few bars that, do a verse, and get to the first chorus, and then Youngblood comes back out. No shirt on, I think, at this point. I can't remember if he has a shirt or a jacket on at this point. That's another good thing I forgot to mention. Earlier in the night, Youngblood was taking photos on the red carpet. He was doing interviews talking about how he's wearing Ozzy's necklace, the necklace that Ozzy gave him. And he's just talking about how he's doing his best to honor Ozzy this night. He took pictures with Taylor Momsen from the Pretty Reckless. They were both just showing off their abs on the red carpet. Everyone just at home scrolling through their feeds, seeing just abbed up Youngblood and Taylor Momsen, making us feel real bad about our Sunday decisions. You know, maybe we shouldn't have eaten all the chicken wings that came in the order, you know. But I digress. Good work on them doing those crunches. So anyway, Youngblood jumps in there with Steven Tyler and Joe Perry, and Steven Tyler sounded great too. You know, Steven Tyler had a lot of vocal damage. Aerosmith had to call off their final show and retire from their final tour. I'm sorry, they had to retire from touring because of Steven Tyler's vocal issues. And he's popped up here and there, doing one-off gigs, some private events. He performed at the Back to the Beginning concert, but you know, they haven't rebooked that tour. They haven't announced they're coming back. There's been hints, there's been rumors. Joe Perry himself has said like they want to get back together and do it again if they can. A lot of people, artists have said like, you know, Aerosmith can't retire after an Instagram post. You know, that can't be how they go out. They need at least one more show. And I mean, if they could at least, you know, hobble together some kind of performance like they do like they've been doing these one-offs, you know, maybe a couple dates for a farewell, that'd be really cool. But yeah, Steven Tyler sounded great. He was a little shaky on a couple parts, but almost, I don't know, that song, Mama, I'm Coming Home, feels like a song that needs to have that vulnerability to the voice. And I think Steven Tyler nailed it. And then, you know, the harmonies between Youngblood and Steven Tyler. Oh my God. Yeah, so good. Loved it. Ariana Grande loved it too. Look at this video of her just freaking out, just melting down, watching the amazingness happening in front of her. Not everyone loved the Ozzy Osbourne tribute at the VMAs, though. The Darkness guitarist Dan Hawkins, he posted on Instagram calling it, quote, shit. So he shared a clip of it calling them both bell ends, which I had to look up, and it turns out it means that the tip of the penis, or it's just an annoying person. So I'm assuming they're going for annoying person. But in the caption of the post, he wrote, another nail in the coffin for rock and roll, cynical, nauseating, and more importantly, shit. Makes me sick how people jump on shit just to further their own careers. Hashtag, what a bunch of cunts. Which is a shame because I love The Darkness. I think they're a super underrated band. Great love songs with plenty of genitalia metaphors. Love them. You know, I think their frontman Justin Hawkins is fantastic. I actually saw The Darkness live a long time ago. Justin Hawkins was riding around on Dan Hawkins' shoulders, I think. and he has nipples pierced, and he came over, and my buddy like reached up, and Justin let him twist his little nipple piercing. I don't know, it's just a fun memory. I think Justin Hawkins is great. I love his YouTube channel. He has a fantastic YouTube channel. Don't go watch it right now. Stay right here. Don't run away to go watch his channel. But when you're done here, go check that out. But that's all to say. As much as I love the darkness, this take is hot garbage. I mean, it's just being a massive hater, you know? Stereo Gum also said in their review of this, they said, the world really didn't need MTV to stage its own Ozzy tribute at the VMAs because we already had the Back to the Beginning farewell, but MTV did it anyway. They made sure and they made sure it was incredibly fucking stupid too. Again, Stereo Gum, I feel like you're just being haters at this point. Like come on. I mean, this was the first major award show since Ozzy passed, where they're just not supposed to say anything at all. And also, it's MTV, who has had a very distinct relationship with Ozzy over the years. You know, they've basically, those two together invented reality TV. You know, so I feel like it would be crazy for MTV not to acknowledge Ozzy and Ozzy's passing. And the family was clearly on board with it too, with all this. You know, Jack did his video intro, like I mentioned earlier, before they went into it. So, I mean, it's not like the family wasn't on board with it or anything. I mean, you could make the argument that they could have just maybe done a video performance, like, or maybe they just could have done like a video montage or a video tribute or something without an actual live performance. But I feel like that would feel more like an afterthought than just, I feel like that would be more of an afterthought than having artists get up on stage and rock out and go nuts. I mean, that seems more reflective of Ozzy, right? And even Jack Osbourne said in his video message, like Ozzy would be so happy. He said Dad would be so happy to see people out there like carrying the torch for rock and like pushing it forward, you know? But let me know what you thought of it. Did you watch it? You probably didn't watch it live. Be honest with yourself. Did you actually watch it on MTV or CBS? Or did you watch the clips the next day on social media? Either way, if you saw it, let me know what you thought of it. The biggest collab of the year may have dropped. All right. Poppy has teamed up with Amy Lee from Evanescence and Courtney LaPlante from Spirit Box, or as fans are referring to this collab as, the Mother, the Daughter, and the Holy Spirit Box. I've also seen the Mother, the Daughter, and the Holy Roller. It's kind of like a choose your own adventure thing, whichever one sounds best to you. So the trio originally slapped this photo on our feeds, and this could have been anything. You know, this could have been a new collab, teasing, you know, it could have been a new song, it could have been a new tour, it could have been an ad for a high-powered SPF sunscreen, you know? And I say that lovingly as someone who is far paler than all three of those ladies combined. Like, I have a very hard time with my Casper-like complexion. I could get sunburned if I stand too close to a heating lamp at a buffet line, is all I'm saying. But it was not anything like that. It was not a reboot of Charmed or Hocus Pocus. It was not, a cool L'Oreal black hair dye commercial, anything like that. It was a brand new song called End of You. The new track arrived with a music video that feels sort of like a gothic Lady Marmalade. And again, I can't play it because of copyright. You know, I don't want to get this taken down, but I'm going to describe it to you. That's just as good as listening to it, right? That's just as good as hearing it. I'll describe it to you. So Amy Lee takes the first verse, right? The first verse and chorus. She comes out of the gate with those classic Amy Lee vocals, just very big opera. I feel like I'm saying opera. Operatic? Not Oprah, the talk show host, but like an opera. Anyway, then Poppy comes in on the second verse. She does her thing. Sounds great. Amy Lee circles back, comes in for that second chorus. And then we get to that breakdown. And here comes Courtney LaPlante, the Holy Roller, the Holy Spirit Box. She comes in, and the music video is really cool. How she busts through the glass and shattering. It's all green. She kind of looks like some kind of hero from the Matrix, just powering through. But the whole song sounds badass. It sounds great. If you haven't listened to it yet, somehow, I don't know how you would have avoided this song at this point. I mean, last I checked, it had over 2 million views on YouTube, and that was like a couple days ago. I haven't even checked recently. Let's look right now. 2.5 million views in just 4 days. So the video's doing pretty well. The song's doing pretty well. People seem to enjoy it, obviously. This collab as great as it is, as cool as it is, as just a one-off, if it is just a one-off thing that they're doing, great, very cool. I mean, the ladies have said, they've done interviews since this has dropped and said they're open to the idea of doing more down the line. As of right now, it's just this one song. They said, you know, the bands will be touring together. I think it's, I want to say, I have to double check, but I believe it's Poppy and Evanescence are doing shows together. But they said they will not perform this song without all three of them. So the first time they perform this song live, it's going to be with all three of the ladies on stage, which I think is a great move. Like, if two of the bands are touring together, they can't do that song without the third person. It needs to be all three of them for at least the first time they do it. I think so. That would be and they agree, that would be the way to go about it. But something I do think this might be hinting at is something bigger than just this, because if you remember earlier this year, Mayhem Festival announced they were going to rebrand as Miss Mayhem. They were going to come back as a festival just featuring entirely female-fronted bands. I know that's not a genre. I know female-fronted band is not a genre. I mean, people get the nipples in a twist anytime you say female-fronted band, but that is what is being called. Any band with a female singer in it, that's the whole idea behind the rebrand of Miss Mayhem. And the festival is owned by Ash Avildsen, who also owns Sumerian Records. And what label is Sumerian Records? Or I'm sorry, what label is Poppy on? I mean, I've pretty much just spoon-fed you the answer there, mistakenly. But yeah, Sumerian Records. So this is just throwing shit out there. Obviously, I have nothing to go on. I'm speculating wildly, but it's very possible that this is kind of setting up a all, female-led music festival with Poppy, Evanescence, and Spirit Box at the helm, the headliners. Oh my God. That'd be huge. That'd be huge. Even if it was a one-off festival, it'd be huge. It'd be even bigger as a tour, but one-off festival would be awesome. Speaking of new music, Limp Bizkit is teasing a new single. It's been too long since we've had some new Limp Bizkit. They dropped their album Still Sucks in 2021, so not too long ago, a few years ago. That's a way smaller gap of time between releases compared to previous Limp Bizkit albums. They've gone decade plus in between albums before. So, 3 or 4 years really isn't that long in the grand scheme of Limp Bizkit's illustrious career. But I'm still happy to have them back, live, laugh, Limp Bizkit. Let's do this. It's what really cool is the way they actually roll it out too. Because we don't even know 100% for sure what is being released or what they're teasing, because the song was quote unquote leaked by drumming sensation Christina Rybolchenko. I think that's how you say her last name, Rybolchenko. She's called Chris Drummer on Instagram and TikTok. I'm sure you've seen her videos. Very, very popular viral drummer, does covers. And in the video, it looks like Chris is just drumming along, doing one of her usual drum covers. And you can tell it's a Limp Bizkit song. It's very clearly Fred Durst, but it's not a song that we've heard before. It's something new. And then all of a sudden, Fred Durst busted the door like an irritated dad. He says, "Christina, this is a new Limp Bizkit song. It's not out yet. How'd you get your hands on this? Don't put this on the internet." And then Christina, puts in her caption, "When you leak the new Limp Bizkit song, get busted by Fred Durst." And obviously Fred Durst is in it, in the video. Limp Bizkit shared on their socials. So obviously this is all, a great marketing ploy. It's not like a lot of people are thinking, like, what? That's what blew me away. As I saw people commenting, like, wait, so did she leak it? No. You dumb, what? No. Fred Durst is in the video. Of course she didn't actually leak it. It's a joke, man. Anyway, it sounds great. The little teaser sounds awesome. He says, yeah, the classic, yeah, in the song. He says, "Hey ladies, hey fellas." Something about hearing Fred Durst yelling, yeah, and screaming, "Hey ladies" and "Hey fellas" in a song. It's like an emotional alarm clock for millennials and Gen Xers with lower back tattoos that now have lower back pain. It sounded great. It's giving the Limp Bizkit audience exactly what they want. And that's more Limp Bizkit. All right. And we don't know what it's called yet. We don't know what the song is called. Like, they didn't give us enough information in this post. They didn't say the name of the song title. Didn't give a release date. Nothing like that. All we got is a little teaser to go off of, but it sounds awesome. I would, again, play it, but, copyright. It's linked. I have it posted on my Instagram and TikTok at Jess Lee if you want to hear it. So it's been a busy week. And it ended Sunday, like I said, was crazy with the VMAs. I barely watched any of the VMAs because I was watching my Browns lose in their very first game of the season, their season opener. I was pretty, it's pretty lit up at that point. I had a few cocktails. I was beat down watching my Browns lose. I lost $50 on that bet. I know I shouldn't have bet on the Browns. I know it's a dumb move. I'd be better off betting on the Browns that come out of my own butt than that team, because at least the Browns that come out of me are consistent. Because I eat plenty of fiber. Anyway, what was I getting at? Oh yeah, so I barely even almost I almost didn't even watch the VMAs because of, I was pretty tired from all the boozing and football watching. But it got me thinking, as I was done watching the Browns get beat down, what bands do you think should play the Super Bowl? And I know it's early. I know there's plenty of time before the Super Bowl. We're likely, the Browns are already kind of out of it, I feel like. I don't want to be a pessimist, but I feel like we're probably done for already. And it's probably unlikely that anyone other than Taylor Swift will play the Super Bowl at this point, especially with her being engaged to Travis Kelce. I'm sure Travis Kelce would go to the Super Bowl again. Taylor Swift will headline. All that will be fun for everyone. But let's have some fun. Let's suspend reality for a little bit. Let's suspend disbelief and imagine if a rock or metal band gets to play the Super Bowl halftime show. Who do you think should play? And I asked this on my Instagram and TikTok that day after I was all boozed up. Here's some answers I got. Legitimately Strange on Instagram said, obviously Falling in Reverse. That would be fun. Ronnie Radke could come out there and roast the other team that he doesn't like. Right? That'd be fun. Headbanging James on Instagram said, Linkin Park, please. Yes. I mean, they're a huge band. Massive comeback. They're already playing stadiums. Just trade out one stadium for the other. Perfect. Oliver Rock on TikTok said Shinedown. That could definitely work. Shinedown could definitely work. They have a lot of sports anthems. They make music that sounds like it should be played at Super Bowls. I'm sure their songs have been used in Super Bowls before, like commercials and whatnot. Also, you forget how many hits Shinedown has. They have just so many hits. I remember seeing them at a festival one time, and it was mind blowing. Like, every time they played another track, I was like, "Oh, damn, that's right. Oh, yeah, I forgot about that. Oh, shit, this one too." You forget how many hits Shinedown legitimately has. Glitzopex on YouTube said, "Electric Callboy, hell yeah! Turn that stadium into a fist-bumping metalcore Oktoberfest. I love it." Daniel Connell on Facebook said, Gojira. They did the Olympics, so why not? They did the Olympics. Why not let them melt some faces at the Super Bowl? Yeah, I mean, that'd be cool. I would like to see what the general public thinks about Gojira without French castles and beheadings and all that. Just because that was a big part of the show at the Olympics was all that. Let's see how they fare on a football field. Daniel Wild on Instagram said the correct answer for the Super Bowl in San Francisco this year is Metallica. Metallica's been hinting for the past few weeks that they might be doing the Super Bowl. They haven't said anything. They keep doing these interviews. People ask them are they going to play the Super Bowl. They're like, well, we haven't ruled it out. We haven't said no, which isn't confirmation, but it's a big step up from the stuff they were saying for years and years. For a long time, they would say in interviews that they asked if they're going to play the Super Bowl, they would say, nah, we're not a Super Bowl band. We don't dance. We don't jump around. We don't have a show. We just go up there and play music. And I've said this before. You don't need any of that. All you need is Metallica on the field. I mean, look at the greatest halftime show of all time with Creed on the Thanksgiving Day halftime show. They just got out there and played. Scott Stapp wore a football jersey, but other than that, they pretty much just played their songs. It was all the stuff happening around them, which was magic. All the acrobats and the angels flying through the air. That was the show. You just had Creed as the soundtrack for this awesome moment. So yeah, I think Metallica's 100% able to do this. Patrick Pius on Instagram said, "Oh, they said Creed." No, even though I just gave a glowing review of Creed's halftime show, No. No, the Thanksgiving halftime show was a perfect magical moment in human history that needs to be untarnished by a sequel. Okay, we do not need to taint this legacy of the Creed halftime show. Okay, leave it as is. There's no reason. I know the Super Bowl would be a bigger stage than the the legendary Thanksgiving halftime show, but no, we're good. We've got the image in our brain of Creed on a football field, and that's the only one that I want ever in this dome. Okay, we don't need another one. I love Creed, but no, don't touch. Leave it alone. Okay. A response that I have not seen in the comments. I mean, I got hundreds and hundreds of comments here. I didn't go through all of them. I went through as many as I could, but I did not see anyone say this one. And this is probably gonna be a hot take, controversial, if you will. You might not like this. You might not be on board with this, but I could see Youngblood being an artist for this. Okay. I know. Listen, I'm not even a massive Youngblood fan, to be honest. Like, I liked the first EP he did when he was a little bit more kind of like pop punk, I guess, more punk. I did like some of the collabs he did later on. I really don't like the more poppy stuff he does. I've kind of fallen off of like keeping up with what he's been doing over the last few years until he came back until he became under the rock and roll microscope after befriending Ozzy Osbourne. Like, Ozzy Osbourne was even in a Youngblood video, Ozzy and Sharon. So like there was a big connection for years, even before even years before Ozzy even passed, he had a connection with Youngblood. But what I'm saying is, I'm not even a giant Youngblood fan, but I think Youngblood being top of mind right now, especially with his VMA thing, I think there's just a big crossover in the rock and metal world and in this whole pop mainstream world using Youngblood. And this is just all I'm saying is, if the Super Bowl does want that, if they do want the rock, vibe to it, it doesn't even have to be Youngblood headlining. He could just be one of the many performers involved in this. I think he makes sense for that. You could even redo, you just run it back and do Youngblood with Aerosmith, but get Zakk Wylde out there this time, and Bencore and Adam Wakeman too, but get Zakk Wylde out there, just run it back, do another Ozzy thing at the Super Bowl. And that's something too. I wonder if the Super Bowl will be I know the Super Bowl is obviously aware of Ozzy's passing, and they're aware of the legacy that Ozzy has. Ozzy isn't really tied to the NFL as far as I can tell, but I wonder if the NFL will do something for Ozzy at the Super Bowl, just because, again, it's another big event that millions of people are going to be watching, and Ozzy was such a cultural impact. If they're going to do a musical segment at the Super Bowl, which is what the halftime show is, some sort of nod to the Prince of Darkness would make sense there, and Youngblood would be a good option for that. Again, I'm not trying to glaze Youngblood. It doesn't even matter what I say now. It doesn't even matter. At this point, it doesn't even matter. All the comments are going to say D1 Glazer for Youngblood over here. Oh, he's shilling for Youngblood. It doesn't even matter. But all I'm saying is, I don't think he's the greatest savior of rock and roll. I do enjoy him, but I'm not saying that he's the savior of rock and roll or anything like that. But in this sense, it makes sense. I think it makes sense. Let me know what you think. What band do you think should play the Super Bowl this year, if a band gets to play? Speaking of your thoughts and questions, we're going to go over some of your questions right now. If you've got a question for next week, feel free to drop it in the comment section on YouTube, Spotify. That's how you become an official full-fledged member of the Jesse Legion. So you ask some questions, all right? You get some interaction. Village Gomez SM on Instagram said, did anything happen at Canada, System of a Down, Deftones, since things happened at Chicago and New York? So what this person's talking about is on this current System of a Down tour, they've been doing these different headlining gigs with other various openers. They had Korn at one of them. They had Avenged Sevenfold another. At the first set of shows with Korn, some dude got caught cranking his hog, got kicked out. We did a whole story about that last week. The second set of shows with Avenged Sevenfold, somebody allegedly took a dump on the floor, pooped on the floor at a venue. Disgusting, obviously. I feel like the only thing lamer than taking a dump at a System of a Down show is like complaining about it on Reddit the next day, which is how the stories went around. Somebody complained about it on Reddit. But you know, I'm glad they did because we got the news out there. We got the important information out there. They did not catch the person who allegedly dumped, so the ongoing investigation continues. As far as if anything happened at the next set of shows with Deftones and System of a Down, the only thing I did see was a shirt mix-up. I'll post a photo here, but the merch got mixed up somehow. So all the System of a Down shirts say System of a Down, but then pictures of Deftones, and then all the Deftones shirts they said Deftones, but they had pictures of System of a Down. Just a massive like bootleg error. I don't know how it happened, but it made these shirts incredibly valuable now because they were only for this festival, or they were only for these shows, and they were sold like at the official merch stand. So it wasn't like these weren't being sold outside. It was some dude's trunk or anything like that. Like the venues were selling these. So now they're going for resale on eBay and stuff. I've seen already a couple $100s for these shirts. So they're pretty valuable. And like if you saw that shirt inside the venue, like at an official merch stand, like why wouldn't you buy those? Like obviously, like I get not buying bootleg, stupid, like messed up merch outside of the venue. Like why would I want a messed up shirt from us? But if you could buy a messed up shirt that's being sold by the band, I feel like that's a pretty funny one-off to have. Let's see. Pack owner 2011 said favorite branch of military. I don't know. My best friend is in the Navy, so I'll go with that. Some kind of wonderful monster on Instagram said, "Do you know how to play any instruments?" Yeah, I can play guitar very poorly. I pretend to do it in the intro of every episode of the show. Let's see. Doog678 on Instagram said, "How you feeling about the Browns this year?" Not great, man. Not great. Feeling better about my own personal Browns coming on my butt, like I mentioned. Rock and Roll Fan 1980 said, "Do you think Kiss will ever admit for real for using autotune?" I mean, do they have to? Like, why would they even bring that up at this point? I mean, like, they're not even playing shows anymore. I mean, they're doing like, I guess like maybe one-offs every now and then, but they've technically quote unquote retired. I mean, that'd be weird for them to come out now and be like, "All right, you got us." You know, all these decades later, you got us. Like, no, I don't think they will. If you have any questions for next week's episode, like I said, drop them in the comment section on Spotify, YouTube, all that jazz. You can find me at Jesse Lee on TikTok and Instagram, at Jesse Lee Show on X. Please be sure to, wherever you're listening to this, wherever you're consuming me at right now, whether it be YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music, some other secret third, fourth service I'm not aware of, let me know. First of all, I want to know where you're listening at, if there's something outside of those main three, because I'm very interested in that. But wherever you're listening, please make sure to bang your head on that follow button, okay? Next week, what do we got coming up? You know what? I'm not going to tease anything crazy right now because I don't know if it's going to happen. I might have an interview with a very big artist dropping next week, but you'll just have to stay tuned for that. I might be going to Deftones too. I might try to see them live this week. We'll see if I can make that show work. Maybe I can find some cool bootleg merch. All right? So just be on the lookout for all that possible content coming from me. But above all else, no matter what you do, please make sure to share this episode with somebody that doesn't suck. All right? Take it easy now, and bye-bye.
The Jesse Lee Show.